Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Weed, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars, the Escape from the Death Star board game. This is a board game from 1977, manufactured by Kenner Games and authorized by Lucasfilm Limited. Especially since this weekend is May the 4th, I figured this game should see some light of day. So, this game is a roll spin and movement game. It seats for about 2 to 4 players, ages 7 and up, and it runs for about 20 to 30 minutes of playtime. So let's dig into it a little further, shall we?
Oh boy! I've reached Millennium Falcon. The Force is with you.
You too can play the space fantasy Star Wars game, Escape from Death Star. Be the first to help Luke and Leia, Han Solo, and Chewbacca escape from the garbage dump and reach the safe Rebel base. The Force can also be against you.
Back to the trash compactor.
You spin to get past TIE fighters.
I win! All right!
Escape from Death Star. It comes complete with everything you see here. New from Kenner, from the Star Wars collection.
In 1977, coinciding with the release of the original Star Wars, 2 board games were produced by Kenner Games and General Mills Cereal. The first was the Escape from the Death Star board game, where you escape from the Death Star trash compactor and make your way to the Millennium Falcon, where you escape to the Rebel base. The second game that was produced was the Destroy the Death Star board game, where you actually do attack runs on the Death Star trench with X-Wing fighters. Both games can be played coincidentally together, so it is basically reenacting the original movie. The game itself comes with a game board, 8 playing tokens, 4 Death Star blueprint cards, 4 tractor beam cards, a spinner, and a deck of 52 force cards. The object of this game is to be the first player to reach the Rebel base after escaping from the trash compactor on the Death Star. Each player selects a color and places their tokens of Luke and Leia and Han and Chewbacca on the matching colored area of the trash compactor. Each player spins. The highest number goes first. Each player spins in turn and moves one of his tokens the number of spaces shown on the spinner. A move may not be split up between the 2 tokens. Moves must always be made in the same direction and must follow the lines connecting the spots. If a player lands on a blue force spot, they must draw a force card and carry out the instructions. If a player draws a force card that tells them to go to the detention block, they can get out by presenting a force card that allows them to leave or by spinning a 3. If after 3 turns the player does not spin a 3, they may leave the detention block on their next turn. More than 1 token can occupy a space on the board as long as they are not like tokens. For example, if a Han Chewbacca lands on a space which there's already a Han and Chewbacca, send the token occupying the space back to the trash compactor. Before moving to the Millennium Falcon, all players must accomplish 2 missions. The first, either token must enter the control room by exact count and acquire the Death Star blueprint shown on the right. 2, either token must enter the tractor beam room by exact count and take the card indicating the tractor beam has been turned off, shown here on the left. After completing these 2 missions, tokens move on to the Millennium Falcon in the following turns. Players must reach the Millennium Falcon by exact count. When both of the players' tokens reach the Falcon, they are ready to travel through hyperspace to the Rebel base, moving the 2 tokens as one. The Falcon space is the only safe space on the board. However, if a player's token gets sent back from hyperspace, they only move back to the Millennium Falcon. The first move into hyperspace is determined by the number spun, and tokens may only move in a straight line from one of the 3 entry points. If you land on a TIE fighter, you must engage in a dogfight. When you move off of the Millennium Falcon space, if you land on an empty space, you stop and wait until your next turn. If you instead land on a TIE Fighter space, you spin the spinner to see if you've won or lost, which is the inside band of the spinner. If you win, you may continue to engage in dogfights until you reach the Rebel base, or stop on an empty space and wait until your next turn. If you lose a TIE Fighter battle, you are sent back to the Millennium Falcon space. The first player to arrive at the Rebel base by exact count or winning the final TIE Fighter fight wins the game. Well, this has been an overview of Star Wars Escape from the Death Star board game. It is a pretty good game. It moves pretty quick. It was designed for kids in mind, so as a basic strategy game, it works pretty well. It has a high replayability, and it has a lot of fun behind it. The game itself was manufactured by General Mills, which owned Kenner at the time, so it was owned by a cereal company. So I believe this game came out as a cereal prize, along with a counterpart game called the Destroy the Death Star board game, which I will be going over in a later video. This game goes online anywhere from about $20 to $40, so as a strategy game goes, it's not too hard to find. But I would recommend looking around because there's a lot of copies missing pieces. But like I said, the game has a very high replayability. It's a lot of fun. So if you can find this game, I would highly recommend playing this game. And in the spirit of this weekend, may the Force be with you. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamer's Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on Star Wars, the Escape from the Death Star board game from Kenner Games. If there's a game that you'd like us to review in the future or go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that way you can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please have a great gaming day.